Welcome back to Wiseman Company, everyone. Ben here. Today we have a versus video for you, and I think it's going to be a very popular one. The Trijicon RMRcc versus the Holosun 507K. And I think it's going to be popular because a lot of you out there have micro 9mm. These two dots are specifically built for that style firearm. Thinner slides require a thinner, more streamlined micro red dot, and let's be honest, everybody wants that dot life, so why wouldn't that carry over into the micro 9mm market? If you want to live the dot life to its fullest, you should put dots on everything, right? Now, a little bit of a caveat, micro 9mm aren't really my cup of tea. Don't really like them, think they're pretty lame. I can't find a role for them in my life. That's just me though. Again, a lot of you own them, use them, carry them every day. So that's why I think this video is important to do. It's gonna generate some good discussion down below. You guys can tell me what you would wanna invest in, which one you would pick between the two. So that's why I wanna do this video, even though I might be one that just says both of them suck. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that. Before we get into my opinion, how I like using them and which one I choose, let's get into specs. Let's first start out with the Trijicon RMRcc. This is essentially a shrunk down version of a regular RMR. You have your brightness adjustment on the left and right side of the housing. You have 8 different brightness settings. You have a 3.25 MOA dot inside. Nice, crisp, clean. The glass has a little bit of a blue tint to it. Again, just like your big brother RMR does. The hardware on this is upgraded. Big point of contention for most dots out there is that it's easy to strip that hardware when you're taking your dot on and off guns. The hardware definitely looks beefed up. It has bigger heads on it. They're using hex bolts. I think that's a welcome improvement. The battery life on the Trijicon RMRcc is 4 years if left on setting 4. That's pretty darn good. Still a bottom loading battery. It's a CR2032, so your standard red dot battery, 2032s. But it's still bottom loading. I feel like that's something they could have improved on when they were doing this dot, made it a side loading battery, but they didn't. Trijicon felt the need, they didn't need to do that. Why? I don't know. I would have probably pushed for that if I was on the design team. The RMRcc does have its own footprint. It doesn't share the same footprint as its big brother. That was kind of a bummer for a lot of people when they first saw this Trijicon RMRcc. They were pissed. There's plenty of adapter plates out there. There's plenty of conversion plates. But let's be honest, we don't want to use plates if we don't have to. They break easy, they're stacking tolerances. If you can avoid using an adapter plate, most people are going to do it. So you can't just take this little guy and plug it into existing RMR cuts. Not going to happen. You got to get its own specific cut for this dot if you want to use it. And then finally, the biggest kick in the balls is the fact that it's $699 MSRP. Oh, sorry. When I first saw it, it sounded like you said $700 for MSRP for this. Oh, you did? Yeah, I'm out. Yeah, it's expensive. Yeah, it's made in America. A lot of you are going to say that. For me personally, that's a large investment for a gun that has a very limited role in my life. That's all I'm going to say about that for right now. Next, let's talk about the Holosun 507K. Let's get into the specs on that. Brightness adjustment on the left-hand side. 2 big buttons, very tactile, easy to use. The housing is aluminum, no solar capability on this, which you typically see with a lot of the other Holosuns. So no solar capability on this. You are still going to get 50,000 hours battery life if left on setting 6. That's pretty darn good. And it does have a side loading battery, so you don't have to take the dot off the slide to swap the battery out. That being said, it's not a CR2032 battery. It's a 1632 battery. So if you have a lot of 2032 batteries lying around, you're going to have to diversify that portfolio and jump into some 1632. Reticle options with this 507K. Holosun's known for doing that. You have the 2 MOA dot, or you can use the 2 MOA dot with the 32 MOA ring, similar to an EOTech. I really liked using that reticle with the 507K. The field of view is really small, a bigger dot inside, just made it a little easier to pick up. And for most new shooters with red dots, they gravitate towards bigger dots, bigger reticles, and then as they get a little bit more skilled, they find a finer dot to be more useful. So I like the fact that Holosun typically does that, gives you reticle options. Same thing with this 507K, you got 2 options inside. The back of the dot does have a very crude rear sight, so you can use this kind of rear sight in conjunction with your front sight as backup irons if you wanted to. I didn't use it at all. I don't think it would be very effective if I had to, but it does give you at the least a point of reference if you want to use the actual housing as an aiming system if your dot were to go down. I think that's a little bit quicker, a little bit more realistic. Just gives you kind of again, a point of reference. So if you need to center that window up on something, you can make some very gross hits. All right, let's get into my opinion and how I like using them. And full disclosure, these dots weren't sent to me. I borrowed these from a buddy. One's on a Smith & Wesson Shield. The 507K is on a Smith & Wesson Shield. The RMRcc is on a 43X. I didn't buy these myself, didn't get these sent to me, got no skin in the game. Just took a very objective view at both of these, and I'll tell you what I think right now. As far as using them goes, it was negligible between the two. I thought field of view was going to play a bigger role. The 507K has a slightly bigger window, but it's only slightly, according to the specs, and the naked eye, you can tell a little bit, but they were both equally difficult to use, actually, because they were so small. And that could just be a training thing, that could just be a time thing. The more time I spent with these, I'm sure I would get better at it, but it definitely was a little bit of a challenge stepping down from a regular RMR or an SRO or a DPP. So using them was a little bit more difficult. But like anything, as we scale down firearms, size, mass, the more difficult it is to manipulate them. So using them, they're both reliable. I mean, this wasn't a reliability test by any means, but I didn't experience any flickering. The auto adjustment worked as advertised. I liked using the EOTech size reticle in the 507K, which might give it a little bit more of an edge between the two if I had to pick. But as far as using them, I would say they are very, very equal. Now, if I'm investing my hard-earned money, which one am I going to pick? The 507K, it's a no-brainer. At an MSRP of $340, half the price of the Trijicon RMRcc, it just makes way more sense for a gun that has a very limited role in my life. I'm not going to invest a ton of money into it. If I had to put a dot on it, and if I have to have a single stack 9, I'm going to spend $300 on it and take the other $300 I saved and put it into ammo, training, mags, etc. I really think Trijicon priced themselves out of the market with this RMRcc. Now I still think a lot of people will buy the Trijicon RMRcc. Trijicon has a very loyal group of buyers. It's going to be a very specific type of person, without offending anyone, that buys the Trijicon RMRcc over the Holosun 507K. A lot of you are going to say, well, I only buy American, and that's great, but you're also lying, because if you look in your house at everything you've bought, products, things, TVs, you didn't always buy American. We like to buy American as often as possible, but sometimes that's just not possible and not feasible. The 507, definitely from China, fresh off the boat. But we have to be realistic about how we're going to invest our money. For me, this is for me, going with the 507K. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. Trijicon has a great track record, tough, durable optics. That being said, I've never had an issue with a Holosun either, and I shoot a lot. So get down in those comments. Let's talk it out. Let's figure it out. Some of you have probably used either of these optics or both, quite a bit, so I want to hear from you what your experience is. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate all your guys' support, buying stuff off the website, subscribing, commenting. I'm not just saying that. It's great to talk with you guys. It's even more awesome that you spend your hard-earned dollars with us. Thank you so much. wisemancompany.com. If you haven't checked it out, there's a ton of gear over there for you guys to pick up for your rifle, for everyday carry. And again, that's the best way to support us. Thank you. My name is Ben. We'll see you on the next video.